Okay, are we all ready? In mind and body.
I'm never ready in mind.
It's okay. We don't mind, and I'll let you finish off that yourself. Greetings, Rommies, and welcome to WromComms, the monthly podcast from the WromWrom team, with all of your favourite hosts and a special guest this month as well. On this month's podcast, we have
almost Sim Gaming Expo time. I am excited.
Last month we got the most sim racers ever.
Le Mans Ultimate is new on the horizon, so we're gonna talk about that.
And as you've already seen, we have Mr. R Factor 2 on the show. I am not fanning at all.
Mr. Le Mans Ultimate.
Exactly.
No, right, okay. So I did originally say Mr. Le Mans Ultimate because that's where we're at now. But to be entirely fair, you've been Mr. R Factor 2 to, well, most of us for a lot longer than Le Mans has even existed. I remember one of my first videos when I was getting into R Factor 2 was your livery guide. On how to get things set up and where to put the files and things like that. I think we'll start off with the most obvious one, and I make a habit of doing this. How the hell do you not have more subscribers?
You know, if I could tell you the answer to that, I probably wouldn't have had that less subscribers.
Very, very true.
I'm grateful for every one of them. I'm grateful for everyone that enjoys the streams, the content. Like, when I started 7 or 8 years back, having had no idea, like not even feeling comfortable to talk on camera or whatever. And if you look at me today, you'd probably not even think that this is the case or that this has been the case back in the day. Yeah, why not that many subscribers? I think one core element I'm missing, which is like a perfect stereotype for Germans, like I have no sense of humor. Like I am too focused on just performing, and effectively, if you also look into the World Wide Web right now, what is trending? Yeah, it's like either stupid videos or it's weird trends that I don't even understand, but it's hardly the educational / the performance based or the performance oriented streams. Because what happens if you're leading the race all the time? It becomes pretty boring to watch, right? So why would you subscribe? On the other hand, though, some people are interested in that performance based approach, and obviously they are on my channel. And in the meanwhile, I'm not that much without sense of humor, but yeah. Like, I don't know. If you have ideas, if you have suggestions what to improve, let me know.
Oh, I know the actual answer, and that's because R Factor 2 for the longest time, and Le Mans Ultimate for about a year, not the most popular of content, was it?
R Factor 2 has been probably cursed, like it had been a bad thing and a good thing as well. The good thing is, like, you all know me as the face of R Factor 2. The bad thing is no one was interested in it. Now, but seriously, when I started with the streaming stuff, obviously I came from R Factor 2 back then. Quickly found that iRacing is the platform to be when it comes to like growing the channel. And arguably, back in the day, 18, 19, I rather would have done iRacing streams over R Factor 2 streams just from the pure numbers, right? However, at some point when Corona has hit, R Factor 2, like also in iRacing, all the esports just like picked up, and then it was obviously a no-brainer to be an R Factor 2, and this is where I still grew my core viewership in the end. Took me a while, took me 7 years. To hit 10,000 subscribers. I was always knowing, like, you can go on the internet, it's like, what do I do to grow my YouTube channel? And you hit the enter button and be like, that doesn't apply for my stuff.
Yeah. Yes. Sim racing is still a niche.
Still a niche, and an R Factor 2 used to be a niche within a niche in a niche, actually. And since we're talking about Le Mans Ultimate right now, being new on the market, Le Mans Ultimate has been a blessing for me as a streamer, as a content creator, as an R Factor 2 based guy, because as you know, Le Mans Ultimate is fundamentally based on R Factor 2. So everyone that got into the game the first time was like, oh yeah, this R Factor 2 guy, he needs to know stuff about Le Mans Ultimate, so let's listen to him. And this is something that I've seen on my metrics for sure, and this has surely got me to the point as where I'm today. And on the one hand, I'm extremely grateful as having the opportunity to share that much information, to share a POV, and like to give 100 or 200 guys a good time when we're streaming or when they are watching a VOD. However, on the other hand, it also made me like it makes you brutally honest look at the thing and be like, you're so liable and you're so dependent on what you enjoy or on what you're good at. In the world of streaming, at least now.
Then it's good. Then I'm not good at sim racing. I enjoy it, but I'm not good at it. So it doesn't matter which sim I take.
Doesn't matter, you know. Sometimes it's you guys that turn up on some clip compilations and we have a good laugh about it because the weird stuff's happening.
Yeah, that's the joy of streaming, is that we all get to enjoy each other's mess ups and our triumphs as well.
And Serta is saying that he has a lot of mess ups and not many triumphs.
Yes, absolutely.
But if he would be growing a channel with triumphs and mess ups, the mess ups are gonna do 10 times better, because that's how the internet works today.
100%.
We want to see people fail, not succeed. What?
Apparently, yes.
One tidbit that I wanted to put in the comparison between Le Mans Ultimate and R Factor 2. Le Mans Ultimate has now more drivers, more average daily users than R Factor 2 ever had. Like the maximum average daily users for R Factor 2 was 723 over the whole bunch of years that R Factor 2 exists. And Le Mans Ultimate just crossed the 2,267.
And that obviously includes the time right after when it got released, with not all the content, just a fraction of tracks, just a fraction of cars. I remember back in the day, we already had like 1.5 up to 2K consistently. When the GT3s dropped in December, it went up to 3, and now with V10, I think we currently have in like the 5K every day. And if you just put that in comparison to R Factor 2, there's also for me like a times 6, times 7 greater size of market, yeah, to show the content to. And it's also great to see the James Baldwins, the Jardiers, the Jimmy Broadbands, like all the good streamers, all the good esport people, also from ACC. There is like the German Marbix and Gambal, and like a couple of guys that used to stream a lot on ACC. They're all coming over to Le Mans Ultimate. And this is just, as a streamer, so great to see, because it means that your content is much more relevant than it used to be in R Factor 2 times when you're talking about my persona.
Why do you think that is? Because R Factor 2 has much more content. It's got much more content than Le Mans Ultimate. On the other hand, maybe because Le Mans Ultimate has GT3s, hypercars, and that's it. Maybe the concentration on a very specialized kind of content is what drives people.
I think it's the fact that it's a lot easier to use. Like R Factor 2, you know, as you know, Michi, can be kind of a mess to get everything, you know, all together the way you want it. Le Mans Ultimate is very out of the box. Here's a good product.
I was about to say there are 3 reasons for it. One is the way you had to set up R Factor 2. I remember you had to even go into some files and change some lines and some ini files in order to actually fix them for the game. Today, to me, I could set up an R Factor 2 at any time because I got over 7,000 hours of it. It's like I know exactly where to go and I know where is the hidden flaws. But what the guys from Studio 397 really did is like put all the problems that the community suffered from, condense them, and put them into, like, as you say, out of the box settings. Like, I click on the gear, I go to settings, I calibrate my stuff, I turn on all the switches there, and you set. This is the first reason why Le Mans Ultimate is doing much better than rFactor 2. The second reason why Le Mans Ultimate is doing better than rFactor 2 is, and Serta, you mentioned it, we had GT3s, we had GTEs, we had LMP2s, we even had 2 hypercars, a DPI, Chevy Cadillac,
yeah.
yeah, and the Funval, as a hypercar.
Yeah.
However, the tire model of all these cars have been broken for years. They didn't really allow much strategic racing. They were kind of dull to drive. The Cadillac and probably the Funval even more. Those have been the most insane forklifts. So it's like you were turning in, and it was not the front turning, it was the rear coming around. This is one key thing where people got frustrated with. And then last but not least, the greatest success of Le Mans Ultimate right now is it offers the same kind of racing frequency and racing ability compared to iRacing. Yes, in a much closer scope. So it's not 40 different races every 15 minutes. But what iRacing was always doing is like, you can race any race within 15 or 20 minutes. And Le Mans Ultimate is doing exactly that. Yes, it's only between beginners or intermediate series, but all of that is crowded enough that you can always have a race. And last but not least, and that is the reason why many of the ACC drivers are coming over, the GT3 category of cars is just really, really good. On the one hand, obviously ACC, at the end of a product life cycle, no further updates really coming. The game is like finished and developed. It has its own issues. Drivers are also kind of, I want to say, fed up with, tired of the content, tired of the same things, and tired of like, this is it in the end, which is the same for rFactor 2 to an extent. So they are looking for a new home. AC Evo, from my side, is basically just an AC2, which has not much to do with ACC in the first place. So if the guys coming over as an esport perspective, like they are looking for something to race, then Le Mans Ultimate is the considerable option. iRacing has been there forever already since. If they would have been iRacing fans, they wouldn't have been on ACC in the first place. So it's that combination of those 3 or 4 factors where I'd say Le Mans Ultimate is doing an insane cut. And then after all, after the release of version 1.0, I think the tire model for the GT3s is just, it's just so beautiful to drive. It's like lazy, but you need to be aware of what you're doing, and you can actually feel what the tires are doing. It's just miles better than any other GT3 right now on the globe, I would say.
I said when because we recently went to Belgium and drove a real car and compared it to a sim. One of the things that astounded me most about that was being able to come back home, sit in my sim, and take the adjustments that I'd made in the real car and put them directly back into LMU. And I've not been able to do that in any other sim. Like there's an adaptation period. There's a wait, I need to drive this way in ACC and this way in iRacing. Like, you can't use full braking in iRacing, and you have to use full braking in ACC. Like that's whereas the truth is neither of those. You use all of the brakes until the tires start to give up, and then you bleed off and blah. You can do that in LMU, and it's the only sim. I'm not going to say only sim. It's the only way to be fast. It's the only physics system that works. Because obviously the basis of the Madness engine is in G Motor as well. Obviously, so same kind of applies to AMS2, but that's got a different problem associated with it. But yeah, being able to go from a metal and oil race car and then take that straight back to a sim is possibly the best praise I can give to a sim, really. And it's again, I got into rFactor 2 for probably the same reason that you did in the first place, which was, of all the options that we have here, I can drive. This one is the closest that it feels the most familiar. It feels the most interesting and engaging versus the other options at the time. And yeah, the physics haven't improved in LMU, but they didn't need to. As you said, and as I've said since 2018 or so, RF2 was never bad. It was just they didn't configure the numbers properly. And the work that they've put into the GT3 tyre now shows that potential was always there.
I very much agree with that. Like, at the end of the day, you also need to remember that rFactor 2 has been an open sim. So many people could create cars, could create tires. I remember for the Formula Sim Racing League, we have like, I don't know how many tires we have rendered back in the day in order to fix various things. And then if you have a tire that's great, you can't just put it on another car because the chassis does whatever sorts of it and it's like an absolute nightmare driving it. So it needed to be like 100% perfectly dialed in perfection. And I think for that very reason, Le Mans Ultimate is now doing so good for what it is, because it basically has 3, including the GTEs, obviously 4 different types of cars. They get 3 different types of tires, and that's all that they need maintain in order to make the platform work. Which, yes, shows on the one hand what could have rFactor 2 been for a sim if this maintenance level had been occurred for any race car, whether that was Formula Pro, the BTCCs, Porsche Cup Car, name them all. And as you say, at the end of the day, for me, rFactor 2 always felt, and sadly it was overdone with the sliding, but it always felt the most immersive and the most corresponding and feedback-giving sim on the market, which is what I needed.
Well, the thing is with the grip on the limit, the sliding as well. Yes, it's unrealistic from the outside, but from the inside, it felt really natural. Coming from lots of karting and real-world driving myself, the G-forces push your attention to where the car's facing anyway. So for me, it always felt proper from inside the car, and I didn't really care for what people thought from the outside.
Thinking about that, looking at onboards from real-life cars, they also have a small slip angle. You know, it's not like on iRacing where they just like drive on rails on the tarmac. Yeah?
It's that now that ACC are starting to look at their tyre model, and they're having exactly the same issue now as well, where they're allowing that bit of tyre slip, and people are exploiting it to gain silly amounts of lap time. And AC Evo is going that way as well with their time model, where you basically can't use traction control because the second that you engage the traction control, you lose all of your speed. So it's the problem with trying to simulate physics. We're always going to have those problems. As you say, I think we're pretty close with LMU. I don't like the off-throttle oversteer that they've brought in with the most recent patches, but that could be me trying to set the car up too pointy. It's normally the problem, but it's still head and shoulders above anything else, as you say. But I think that was what everyone was expecting both of us to say. Honestly, anyone who watches RomComms on a regular basis knows that I really like Studio 397 and their products, and anyone who knows Michi knows exactly the same. So we've gone through that. I think what we need to look at now is, again, we've discussed this before in person, and I think that it's worth including Serta and Cody back into the conversation, because LMU hasn't had a smooth path to 1.0, has it?
Nope.
That's for sure.
I think the results that we're seeing now are very much tied to Stephen Hood taking taking the reins of development once again.
I think it was about a year ago where I described Motorsport Games as a crackhead trying to borrow $10,000. And they have thankfully eschewed that reputation of like, man, what in the world are they doing? They have like really turned things around, and they're doing great now. You know, I mean, I don't know the ins and outs of the finances are doing great, but they have a great product, and that product is doing phenomenally.
Financially, they're not in a good place yet, but they are in a better place than they were a year ago for sure. Also, the injection by Pimax of, what was it, 2.5 million or something like that, has helped them a lot. Even if Pimax is being very mum about what those 2.5 million have bought them, other than a seat at the sea level. But it helps, of course, if you can plan ahead. You have a certain amount of money, you know how your cash flow is, then you can say, okay, so we're going to invest that and that much here and that much here. If you're living from month to month, from paycheck to paycheck, even as a company, then you cannot work strategically in whatever it is that you need, licenses, marketing, and all of that. And the marketing is being done by itself, luckily for LMU, because everyone and his monkey is jumping on LMU. Not saying it's a bad thing, it's a fact.
Well, it's partially Michi's fault.
Yay! One of my dumbest but best mistakes ever.
So, right, okay. So there is a very specific reason why we've steered this conversation onto this. Michi, I will give the conversation to you for just a second, because sim racing is not your breadwinner. It's not the way that you keep a roof over your head and food on the table. I'll let you describe what it is you do in as much or as little detail as you'd like, and why we're talking about the financials on a sim racing podcast.
Yeah, probably because my day-to-day business is a financial background. So, I'm working as a financial controller in an industrial company here locally. This is where I earn my bread and butter, as we say in Germany. This is what pays my bills. This is what gives me also the opportunity to race. I can have bad month, bad year in sim racing, and I know I'll be fine. But obviously, it comes with sacrifices. As it is an 8-to-5 job, I will always do my streaming in the evening, and I will cut my content somewhere in the night. And when I'm done with cutting, I go sleep for a couple of hours before I head back to the office. So it's not a particularly comfortable situation, let's say. On the other hand, though, and this is also me with my financial background, I cannot imagine any circumstance where I would quit my real life job to go sim racing 24/7. Is way too insecure. Like, we all know Corona, and everyone was like, oh, esport, and oh, sim racing, oh, everything's so great. Look where we are now. And then at some point, I also have to admit, like, being 40, 45, like, I pretend to have the skills of a Fernando Alonso to keep racing for that long, but let's face it, at some point, your body is just going to say, I can't no more compete at the level of an 18-year-old, right? And then next to it, if you look at how the teams are working, they rather sign a 18, 19, 20-year-old diamond that still needs shaping rather than a 33-year-old veteran. Simply because the 18-year-old give them a bright future ahead, and they can invest a shitload amount of time. So yeah,
and they don't have to pay him that much because he doesn't know his worth.
Sort of over here with the realist.
I wouldn't necessarily say that they are not aware. There is cases of that. I want to call it abuse, really. because I've heard about like especially like 13, 14, 15-year-old guys being contracted to some contract like you can't go anywhere else for the next 3 years, but you're not getting any single pence. Like, why would I want to sign something like that, even being 14 years old, right? But as a matter of fact, though, I believe that these guys, especially those young and quick ones, they kind of know their value, and I think Corona has also, they've been 14, 15, 16 years old back in the day. They were like, if I'm gonna be as fast as them and I know what they are earned, then I kind of know my value anyway. So I'm not entirely sure if that business idea is working just as well, but obviously it is a point. But yeah, like as mentioned, working as a controller and in finance literally since ever, and always done my entire sim racing side by side. So like, yeah, I worked for 11 years already in full time, and this is how I have done all the good sim races and all the bad sim races in the past 11 years now.
Putting it in a sentence for people who don't know what it is and oversimplifying it, Michi, a controller is the person who takes care that the company doesn't spend more than was budgeted and is hitting people in the shins who are doing that. It's oversimplified and it's in one sentence, but
in any case, if we've ever had another person on the podcast who is more qualified than Serta to discuss the financials of Motorsport Games over the past 3 years, 4 years. 4 years. They formed in 21.
I'm only interested since 3. Yeah.
Yeah. It's Mr. Michi Hoyer here, and again, there was a very poor perception of Motorsport Games' financial situation and how they were running their company to start with. And it's as Serta said earlier, Mr. Hood seems to have turned it completely around, got new investment into the company, and is generally just spinning up a polishing, bringing up a very good shine on a turd at the moment. To mutilate the phrase. We rewind a year ago. Where do you think MSG really went wrong when they first started getting into the space?
Having 340 people as employees.
Oh, really? Was it that simple?
Think about it. You go as Motorsport Games, you buy Studio 397, and that is literally your only asset that you have. You have the IP of Studio 397 or of the R Factor 2 G motor, whatever. You have R Factor 2 as a sophisticated game that has literally already a bad image. Yes, there is NASCAR in the works, and you do that Ignite stuff and Kartcraft and whatever. But this is like you're operating in a small niche. And I don't know what is the size of iRacing, but you look at iRacing, and they have been considerably much smaller than MSG back in the day when they bought Studio 397, right? However, their pricing model was like high premium, 2 to 2.5 times more expensive, like a car compared to R Factor 2. I don't know, was it $11.99 versus $7.99 on the track, then $14.99 versus $4.99, or the other way around. But I think, yeah. So, and on top of that, you throw $12 per month at the system only being able to use it. So, and then you look at the market share. You say R Factor 2, 700 people on average, 720. And then we look at, I don't know, 80,000 active subscriptions on iRacing in 22. And you don't need to be like a good guy in finance to see which is the better and more business proof model here. So this is the thing, like you come in, MSG, yes, they got a bunch of millions probably from funding from Motorsport Network back in the day, but you're running essentially a couple of devs and 310 people in overhead. This is just how it looks from the outside. And you can still see these positions even today when you look into the financial statement of them. Like last year, the other company income has almost been as much as like the the product revenue. So to put that again more simplified, the product revenue is this what you do as a company, this is what you sell to the customer, that's what you earn the money with. And the other incorporated income is whatever that might be, a funding from government, or you find $5 on the street, pick them up, put them into the pocket. That is the other incorporated income. And that being almost like tied, almost equal, tells you that there is a lot of stuff going on, but your actual product is not being the thing that's giving you the business. And I was quite shocked how long they took in order to shrink themselves so healthy that now I think is it like the studio plus 20 people of overhead, like roughly 50 employees in total. They had like waves of making people relentless. And don't get me wrong, I am sorry for every employee that had to go, that was made redundant. I'm really, really sorry for them having to see for something else, but I really have to say also, and that is before Stephen Hood. Stephen Hood was already in charge, then he got, I don't know, either he resigned or he got booted, I can't remember. And then he came back after a year, and then actually that making redundancies happened. But this has happened way too slow, and also it took way too long. And I think that is the kind of mismanagement, I want to say, that has happened before. Now the cost cutting, the cost cutting that Stefan has done was painful. And also it made, I don't know how many videos I saw is like, oh, MSG is such a cruel company, and I'm like, yeah, but they're just doing what they are supposed to do. It's like getting themselves healthy and sustainable again. Have I been worried that LMU may never hit V10? Oh yes, big time. But
yeah, we said many times that MSG was in the UCI, and I'm not sure that it's out of there, but maybe it's not in intensive care anymore, just looked after every hour by a nurse.
Yeah, I absolutely understand why you're saying this, and like I was looking at every financial release, like, oh, looking at the numbers, how long is this boat gonna stay afloat?
And seeing too many numbers in brackets, which means that the numbers are negative.
Yes, I mean that entire saga with losing the licenses and so on. See, this is the thing. If you haven't had 310 people, but just 10 devs more, you would have been able to sell out the BTCC game, you would have had the IndyCar game, and you would have had them all under their belt and got 3 products actually to sell to the market, right? And we wouldn't probably be talking
if
about
they would
all
have
that.
gotten NASCAR right, which was the first big issue.
Yes. But at the same time, like the devs is 26, 27 people. You see, it took them 2 years to get Le Mans Ultimate from an idea to like a finished product. You guys mentioned it before, it had its rough time. That just shows you how difficult and how tricky it is even to get such a product out on the market. Because there is a ton of customer being like, after 1 hour, this is beep, take it back. This happened so quickly, and I think the second great management idea was, and I was quite surprised seeing them doing it, it was Stephen Hood himself who put himself in front of the camera saying, we are MSG, we are Studio 397, we're working on this, and that, and we're actively enjoying it. And obviously, if I obviously got my connections into Studio 397, I've also spoken to Stephen Hood personally a couple of times. He was not only a CEO overseeing a great corporation, overseeing a great management task, he is also a sim racer in his heart. So he knew exactly like what is the need, what is the product. And you see this in F1 today. All those F1 team principals, maybe Toto Wolff excluded, but all those team principals that have just a financial background, they can lead a team. But if the car's crap, there's no chance you're going to turn this ship around, because you, as a financial guy, you have no idea about the technique. And this is what what makes Stephen Hood so qualified. He also knows how to operate a company that's listed on the stock market, but he also knows as a sim racer and as an enthusiast, like, what is the core issue of the product. Not all of the decisions may have been right, but the core of the decisions, they have been right, and they've been driven by knowledge. And I think this is why we're sitting here today enjoying Le Mans Ultimate V10, including a Pimax investment of 2.5 million. Yeah.
Although having a sim racer at the helm does not need to mean success, as we could see with Fanatic.
No, it doesn't mean that. By all means, it's not a self-explaining thing that when you put a sim racer and a good corporate into a management position, this must not be, or this doesn't necessarily mean that this is going to be a great project or a great result anyway. Maybe we would have had an even better result if some decisions would have been taken differently. We don't know, but at the end of the day, you need to acknowledge that Stefan and Studio 397 has made an incredible job out of the resources that they've had at hands, and that you need to acknowledge and actually praise them for.
I think Toto Wolff did race at some point in his career.
What about the racing? Racing, yes, obviously he knows a little bit about the technique, but from a study point of view, Mattia Binotto has been mechanical engineer or something, and Toto is a master of business administration. An excellent one, don't get me wrong, but I think when it comes down to like leading a technology-based and a technology-focused business, like in Formula One team, you'd probably be better at mechanical engineering rather than being good at the numbers, because the numbers can be fixed by someone. They don't need to have idea about F1. They are just like, as you say in the beginning, it's like this is the budget, 140 million. You spend too much on it. FIA will fine you for this. But this is another reason I think why they've put Laurent Mekies in, because they lost Adrian Newey. Pierre Vacher has its issues with the car, 100%, because ever since the great Adrian left, the car was starting to struggle. They lost Jonathan Wheatley to Sauber and Audi, so there was so much performance drain out of the team. And Laurent Mekies, not only as a leader but also as a technical based leader, he may know which position which guy needs to be put in. And that is, I think, what they hope on the Red Bull side, to turn that ship around right now.
And to say to anybody listening or watching on YouTube, we went from Motorsport Games to Red Bull.
We went to F1 in that regard, but I think you see the similarities there.
It was a tangent, but it was a good one.
As a CEO, you need to be very complete in what you're doing.
In a ultra competitive world as we're in now, there can't be a blind spot. You can't, as if you are going to be the one at the helm, you cannot have a blind spot, because that blind spot will kill your career.
It can, yeah.
I think Motorsport Games messed up when they released that kind of NASCAR game, which was just horrible from A to Z. There were reasons because it was because of that. As far as I know, the contracts with NASCAR say that you have to deploy the game in a certain time frame, and they went because they had to fulfill that time frame, but they went with a piece of software that was not even in alpha state, which was just a horrible state.
It was a bad decision, yeah.
Essentially, there was nothing wrong with the idea of MSG. It was just poorly managed from the off. Way too big for what the company was.
On the other hand, what Michi is saying is correct. If you have 20 developers, and at the end of the day you are a software company, because sim racing studios are software, gaming studios are software companies, and if you only have 20 people taking care of the software out of 340, you for sure do not have enough people taking care of the software.
That's a lot of overhead.
insane amount of overhead. Yeah.
They had that overhead also because Motorsport Network was taking care of media, but they didn't have the software ready for the media company to do anything with the software. Because I think that the idea was we have the software, then we can do esports on that software, and then we can sell those esports as media content. But they did not have the software, and they did not have enough people being able to take care of the software, and that's where everything fall down like a house of cards.
Something else they've done wrong back in the day, and this, not sure if this is already a rFactor 2/3397 decision when it was still at Luminous. But you guys may remember GT Pro, Formula Pro, Le Mans Virtual Series, and so on. So, especially Formula Pro, the price pool on the second season was $50,000, if I'm not mistaken. It was a ridiculous amount of money for what it was. You can argue Le Mans Virtual Series with $250K, that is being funded by ACO, WEC, FIA, you know, everyone's having its interest on it, and it's been like a little bit more of an official thing compared to Formula Pro, so it was kind of justified. But coming back to the point, even GT Pro, Formula Pro, don't spend a 25K on a single season, don't spend a 50K on a single season. Spend 5K or 10K instead and make it 5 seasons over 3 years or whatever. This is much more sustainable. This means also there is a plannable future for everyone going on. Back in the day, it was like, okay, Formula Pro is done, so let's hope it comes back next year. And it never came.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure I was watching that stream as well.
The issue with modern companies who only think in quarterly packages. This quarter was good. I don't know what happens next quarter. I don't care. This quarter was good. Where's my bonus?
That might be a corporate issue, yeah. But I think there are more issues than just that.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But as you said, and I agree wholeheartedly, Stephen Hood has turned it around, has produced a sim that people want to drive, that is drivable compared to what LMU was at early access. And that is soaring. I mean, as I said at the beginning, it's got more people driving it that Assetto Corsa Competizione at the moment. So that's incredible. I mean, not more than Assetto Corsa or BeamNG, but more than Assetto Corsa Competizione, which is already no small feat.
Don't get me wrong, I don't think AC as such is in the scope. ACC is a direct competitor to Le Mans Ultimate, but not AC. AC is that kind of open world game where you can put your cat onto a sofa and make it go drive around Eau Rouge and clip it and put it on the internet. Not saying this is what it is used for, but I know a lot of casual guys. I've seen mods where people just run over highways, slicing through the traffic with their normal road car.
No hazy, yeah. Mm-hmm.
That is obviously none of my interest, and that is also not the field that MSG or Le Mans Ultimate or rFactor 2 is competing in.
AC Evo,
and this is also exactly, and this is also why I'm saying AC Evo is being like the new AC on top of that, rather than the new ACC2.
It's a very interesting direction for Kunos. From if you don't know the history of it, it makes a lot of sense when you take into account Kunos actually paying attention to their community. But with that said, and coming back to the conversation that we're talking about, yes, it's not a direct comparison with LMU. It's not even a direct comparison with rFactor 2, and never was.
Not even a direct comparison with ACC.
Exactly. Like, it's the type of person that plays ACC on a regular basis is not going to play Assetto Corsa on a regular basis unless it's in an organised league, which again has its own issues in Assetto Corsa. So it's we're as we've said with sim racing hardware at recent sim racing expos, we're now looking at niches on niches on niches when it comes to some of this equipment. 3D Wrap last year. Oh, I don't like saying that. Had an accessibility to controls so that disabled drivers could drive with hand controls. And oh man, that's such a tiny niche of people who don't have the use of their legs and want to do sim racing. But they're clearly making money from it, or they're clearly breaking even on it.
Not forget, Michi, I don't know if you have better data, but my data says that the sim racing hardware market is worth about $2 billion US.
I can neither confirm nor disconfirm that because I haven't looked into that statistics. What I'm going to say is we have certainly moved away from a monopoly-based market like Asetek being the only sort of high-quality equipment to like a completely open free market. You have manufacturers from the US, you have manufacturers from Asia, you have manufacturers from Europe. You have Logitech and Thrustmasters, to me, kind of still being stuck into the entry sort of casual gamer level. And then you have so many manufacturers that they keep expanding their product, right? SimuCube suddenly coming around with active pedals. Musa now, I think, also coming around with active pedals. I would even say that we have an oversaturated offering market rather than a demanding market back in the day. You know, I think 2 or 3 years ago, everyone was like, "Oh, I bought my Fanatec. Is about to be delivered in 3 months because they have such a big backlog, right?" And today, you go into the internet looking for steering wheel, and you get like 200 hits. Now, which one do you get? And then, if you get one, when do you get your next one? So, I bought my GSI actually when we met the first time last time in Maastricht. Unless this GSI isn't breaking, I'm not buying any other steering wheel in the next 2 or 3 years. So I'm like, how on earth are they all surviving and all keeping an insane amount of research and development going in? I mean, the SimuCube and its active pedal, I think a lot of guys would kill actually for getting some. They are stupidly expensive, but probably still justified now.
I know from Bavarian SimTech, they have grown 300% in the last 3 years.
And they do not have a budget product anywhere in their
Oh,
lineup.
no. Absolutely not.
This was insane when I went over Sim Racing Expo last year. I was like, Bavarian SimTech? Is that like what happened out of Fanatec? I was seriously believing, has this been Fanatec before? Because they had like 32 different kind of steering wheels and rims on their boards, but then I found out it's like a completely different and unrelated brand to it. So I was shocked seeing this. Is like, oh man, so many steering wheels.
And speaking about oversaturated market, or at least about a market that can run into that, PXN and Turtle Beach are coming into the DD market. The PXN released on Friday a 3 DD wheelbases, and Turtle Beach has announced for September 1 DD wheelbase, which is going to be 3 point something Newton meter, but it's still direct drive.
It's still a direct drive, huh?
Yeah.
Turtle Beach was an interesting one as well.
One.
Okay, cool. Right, sweet.
Go ahead.
Cody, after you. No, go on. I've spoken enough.
Yeah, so Turtle Beach is a very interesting one because what they're primarily known for, what they're known for on like a majority of store shelves, at least around here, is like if you're going to Walmart and you're getting cheap gaming headphones for like $30, those are probably going to be Turtle Beach headphones. So that's my main knowledge of the brand, but I know they also make entry-level flight sim equipment as well. So they do work in the peripheral space. And so going to make, wheelbase makes sense. The jump to direct drive is interesting because
It's an entry-level direct drive.
yeah, making an entry-level direct drive. I think in some ways that's almost more interesting than if they were like, we're going to do something high-end, right? Because like a budget direct drive, we've seen that from Moza and that sort of stuff, but I think a Turtle Beach one, like, is the construction going to be like a Turtle Beach headphone? Because I used to have one. I don't have one anymore for a reason.
I think they have released the images, if I remember correctly. I would have to look it up. But give me a sec. Like the Turtle Beach, the Turtle Beach base is gonna be costing 450 USD.
The thing that interested me about Turtle Beach was their DDU that they had built into the wheelbase. I think I've just found, from 2 days ago, the traction article. They've just taken the motor out of the unit. That's all they've done. Because they did a breakdown of the Velocity 1, which was the one that they brought out last year, I think. Or was that early this year? I think that was last year. And it had the direct drive inside, and looking at the picture of this, it's basically just the motor, as opposed to the motor and DDU on top. The Turtle Beach interested me a lot because the Turtle Beach interested me a lot last year, depending on how good the motor and software was, because again, it doesn't matter how good the motor is if the software and driving is and the drivers are terrible. But I was interested to see if people followed this of having an inbuilt DDU. It seems as though it hasn't, hindsight and all that. But it was a really interesting, and I've not seen anybody actually take much interest in it either. Of having like a built-in direct drive, a built-in heads-up display, basically.
What I find interesting also is Turtle Beach is going with one wheelbase, 3 Newton meter, while PXN is going with 3 wheelbases, 4, 6, and 10 Newton meter constant torque, with peak torque always 1 or 2 Newton meter above that. So PXN is going a little bit wider, like entry level 4, mid level 6, and not that entry level anymore with 10.
I need to be very careful with how I word this next thing, but isn't that that's a very Chinese approach? They don't make one crafted experience. They kind of scattershot across the whole breadth of the ecosystem at once, and then you pick what you want. We're cheaper than the West.
Which they aren't, because the cheapest is their VD6 base, like 6 Newton meter, and only the base is $329 US without a wheel, and they go up to $440 US or 5. What's interesting is PXN's prices. The euro prices are higher, like about 20 numbers higher than the dollars. Like the VD10 base bundled with a wheel, 330 millimeter wheel, is 540 USD or 560 euro.
That's not even price competitive with Fanatec.
Well, it's 10 Newton meters, so yes, it's price competitive with Fanatec.
On that note, I have two more global players to throw into that. Cooler Masters and Thermaltake. You both know that these companies are known for actually building hardware for your gaming computer ever since. Whether that is PSUs, coolers, cooler cases, whatever. They have now also jumped onto the train with sim racing, and
we met them at the Sim Formula Europe.
Exactly, and they are using. Both companies are competitors to each other, but they have a total different market strategy. There is Cooler Master, which I've been with on Sim Racing Expo back in the day, and I've also met Vincent at the stand in Maastricht. So Cooler Master, they have developed their own alloy rig where you can put all sort of stuff on it, but they've partnered together with SimuCube on the wheelbases, Sabold, I think, for the seats, SimuCube for the active pedals and so on, and GSI as a steering rim. So they have taken their partners to equip their rig. And then on the other hand, there's Thermaltake. Thermaltake comes in with a flight sim and a racing sim rig. It's like also made in alloy. Obviously incomparable to what the Cooler Master does, not only by price but also by stability and so on. But they are going into the market with their own product because they've just announced or even launched their G6 direct drive steering wheel bundle, including 3 pedals, a rim, and a direct drive motor for only 650 euros. And I think with that, they are a proper competitor to Logitech and Thrustmaster.
Oh, Logitech and Thrustmaster are done for. I mean, we remember Ike. We tested the Thrustmaster on the Sim Racing Expo last year, and it was okay.
No. The problem with the Thrustmaster last year, it's a good motor. It's not revolutionary how they were trying to describe it. It's a technology that's been out there for decades at this point. The problem was that they had it configured wrong on ACC. So on Gran Turismo, it felt really quite competent and quite compelling. In ACC, it was terrible. And they had no interest in actually taking feedback to fix it. I just looked up that Thermaltake wheel. Those pedals look very interesting.
The Thermaltake news flew past by me without, so I will have to look it up.
They've been under the radar, yeah. I visited their HQ like a month back or so and took a drive on it.
And that's not something that you want to be in the market at the moment. You don't want to be under the radar.
The problem is they are still in development of this product, and they must have recently just launched it because I just found it on their webpage. But like the overall idea and the overall quality that Thermaltake is offering there is like extremely competitive. It is probably a price that is interesting for like a beginner, maybe just about like medium level entry. But I think the technology and also the quality built in could be also a potential high-end quality. Yeah? It's a direct drive. It's a direct drive that you can either put onto your sim racing cockpit or put with a clamping frame onto your desk.
Is that a load cell brake pedal? No Hall effect. Okay.
It's a Hall effect one, yeah. But it is much more accurate than what I found the Logitech one to be back in the days.
On a surface look, it was confusable with a load cell. It's a 2-stage spring and rubber system that does actually give you some kind of feedback. Much like again Logitech tried to do and didn't do too well with the G29.
Oh my god, no! What's the first thing I built out? Like I took the brake and it's like replaced it with a clutch. Like.
Actually went to when we were in Belgium, we went to Eau Rouge's headquarters, and one of the guys there was still running a G29 with the rubber in, and I said, just take it out, you're not doing yourself any favours. Worst case scenario, I've got because I'm still running the G29 pedals, but they're not going into the G29 itself, they're going into an external controller, which obviously has a linear brake pedal, and then I've replaced the brake pedal with the True Brake, if you're aware of that mod.
Mm-hmm.
Which, no, it's not a load cell, but it's damn close compared to the original potentiometer setup. And even that is so much nicer than anything before it. But I think the Logitech pedals get a lot of undue slack for what they are and what they cost and what they're included with. when you compare them with the low end Thrustmaster pedals, I still think they're better.
Speaking about expos and so on, Michi, we just learned that you're also going to be at Sim Gaming Expo, like Cody is going to be for WromWrom. What are you looking forward to? What does interest you the most?
That's even hard to say. Last year, I wanted to see that Mercedes F1 rim from SimLab. And I wanted to obviously see...
Sim Gaming, Chicago.
Sim Gaming.
Sorry.
No, I'm not coming to Sim Gaming. I thought you meant Sim Racing Expo in October. So no, I'm not coming to Sim Gaming.
We're talking about hardware. Let's sashay along to the Sim Gaming Expo in Chicago, because as much as we aren't going to be going there, unfortunately, going over to the US is not viable for the majority of us. One of us is already there.
Yes. So I am going to Sim Gaming Expo.
We have our insight man.
Yes. Yeah. So I am going to Sim Gaming Expo. It is September 5th through 7th in Chicago, specifically Schaumburg, Illinois, which is a suburb of Chicago. And it's really shaping up. Of course, the obvious comparison is to Sim Racing Expo. And there's been a lot of questions of are exhibitors going to make the trip over? Because, of course, it's a very Eurocentric industry, right? But, of course, you've got Dallas-based GSI. They're going to be there. We are seeing a lot of other players, not just based in the U.S., who are coming over. So off the top of my head, because I totally don't have a list here, Simicube, VRS, Huizenveld, SimLab, Asher Racing, GSI, Cube Controls, and even PXN.
And Corsair. Not Fanatec, but Corsair.
Yes, yeah, Corsair for business. So it seems like they're probably... specifically them, they're probably not bringing a whole bunch of their sim equipment, but it sounds like they're bringing their computer equipment, which we're actually seeing several other PC builders who are kind of rounding out the space. And it's also important to note that Sim Gaming Expo does not have racing in the name, not only because that was taken, but also because it's not just limited to sim racing. It's also for other sim stuff. So flight simulators are going to have a presence there. And it's even open to all sorts of other kinds of simulation stuff. So farming sim is going to be something that they're targeting. I don't think they have an official partnership announcement.
Not that I know of, no.
Yeah, there hasn't been many software companies saying, hey, we're bringing our sim one way or another. It's mostly been hardware exhibitors.
That's happened with all the expos. Like the only reason there was some software at the Sim Formula Europe in Maastricht was because we had because Marcel was there, and because we had this cooperation between Simocube and Marcel with that very excellent proof of concept. And at Sim Racing Expo, we had Assetto Corsa Evo-ish. Like it was somewhere, but they didn't have a presence, a stand in there. So I'm not surprised.
Yes, it was very nebulously distributed throughout many of the favored exhibitors, favored hardware exhibitors. But yeah, so it'll be interesting. We're also seeing some other kind of sim adjacent kinds of hardware. There's one company that I think is kind of interesting, Dunwyvern Gaming, who have made like a left-hand keyboard controller aimed at like your management sims and that sort of stuff. Which I think is kind of an interesting gig. There's going to be a lot of like cool, weird stuff. A lot of motion sim companies that are doing very new, different ways of getting things to move. For motion sim stuff. You saw our coverage from a year or two ago. I think it was two of Race at Home. They're not going to be there, but that kind of like, hey, let's think about motion simulation differently, is very much going to be a theme of this expo. So super excited for that. I will be bringing you guys coverage. I've got myself and a cameraman who are we're going to go. So you won't be seeing Serta's face doing interviews and reactions and things like that, but you will be seeing my face. So I hope that's okay. It better be, because you're not getting another option.
We hope it's okay because you don't have a choice.
That's exactly right. You don't have a choice.
It's only American on the menu this time.
100%. Goodbye, doner kebab and beef roulade and hello barbecue bacon burgers and deep dish pizzas. So we might be getting deep dish pizza review part 2. If you guys watched our Wreckfest stream that we did last year in celebration of, I think it was 10,000 subscribers. I was on vacation in Chicago whenever we did that. Not in preparation for this or anything. It was actually before this was announced to be in Chicago, I believe. Or it was around that time.
No, it was a week after you came back. Yeah, it was a week after you came back that they announced it.
That was it. And it was like, hey, I guess I'm going back to Chicago. But anyways, live on stream, I reviewed my first Chicago-style deep dish pizza. Go back and watch our Wreckfest stream from last year. We'll link it down in the description below. But it was really fun. And so we might do that again, because I'll be back in Chicago. Or maybe I'll pick a different weird Chicago food. Like, they do hot dogs very strange over there. So, so we're going to have fun with it. It's going to be a good time. I've got a lot of interviews that we've got lined up. So we'll be doing the standard interview format that you have come to expect and love, where we talk to and get a bunch of different perspectives from the different exhibitors. And then also I'm kind of thinking about, do my own thing for content strategy and just kind of taking y'all through and seeing what's out there for the first ever Sim Gaming Expo. So I hope you guys follow along. Hope you guys get our coverage, and if you can make it, we'd love to see you there at Sim Gaming Expo. It would be a lot of fun. Come say hi. Not when the camera's recording, but when the camera's not recording, come say hi. And I'd be happy to shake your hand, take a picture with you, whatever. If you're a particular fan of the WromComms podcast, then meet your favorite WromComms host.
The American choice.
Let's not forget we're going to do a podcast too.
That's exactly right. So we have this lined up. It's planned. Of course, logistics are going to be interesting. So if everything goes to plan, because this is the first time ever that any of us are doing this, both us and the organizers, but we are planning to do a podcast. I don't think we're streaming it, but we're filming it international. So it is going to be Ike and Serta through a video screen, and then I will be at Sim Gaming Expo with a special guest. Serta, do we want to say who the special guest is just yet?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
Not yet.
But it will be with a particularly special guest who you guys, especially if you've been around a while in the sim racing space, will absolutely know and love. So
we've been big fans, and when we asked him if he wanted to be on the podcast, we discovered that he's also a fan of us. So we're fanboys of each other, which is a good thing.
100%. So we've got a great. Yes. Yeah.
Somebody who you didn't even think that knew who you are says, "Oh yeah, of course, yeah, I follow you since ever," and you're like, "Oh, okay."
Speaking of, you and me, Michi, we need to have words with John Monroe from Traction and do a race or something together, because
I agree.
He's a lovely chap. I like him a lot.
Yeah, he's a good boy.
Anyway,
wait. Cody wanted to say something more about the Sim Gaming Expo.
Oh yeah, I just wanted to wrap it up by saying I'm very excited, a little nervous because this will be my first time running the show while there. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoy the coverage. There will be, if all goes to plan, a lot of it. So looking forward to that.
And if I'm not there, it's because I'm caring for a newborn baby.
That's also the reason for once, you're not going to be on the Sim Racing Expo.
Correct, yeah. I won't be at the Sim Racing Expo in Dortmund this year, unfortunately. It means that Cody and partner are going to have to make their own way to Dortmund again.
We carpooled last time from the UK.
But yeah, won't be there this year because I'm going to be a dad. And the gravitas of that is not at all terrifying.
Well, good luck to you and Baby Sky.
We have actually kind of almost run out of subjects to go through as far as the news is concerned. That's not to say that a lot of this stuff didn't happen in sim racing in the past month. We have got news about Endurance Motor Series. We have got news about Project Motor Racing. Did we have a release date for last month?
For Project Motor Racing, yes, we've already. At least it was already in the news. I don't know if we talked about it in the
already
podcast.
In the news, yeah, but we've had even more details. That's
November
it.
25th.
And interestingly enough, NASCAR 25, October 14th.
Time for Sim Racing Expo.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to be there, but who knows?
Will you be partaking in Project Motor Racing, Michi?
I'm certainly interested in it because I think if my intelligence is not mistaken, Timothy Wheatley is on that project team, and Timothy Wheatley has been a core part of R Factor 2 when it was at ISI still. So I'm interested to see the result.
I have stuck my line in the sand as saying I think that the physics of Project Motor Racing is going to be madness again, which again goes all the way back to ISI.
I don't think so. I don't think so, because at least as far as Ian Bell has told us, they have done the physics completely anew.
We've heard that before.
Absolutely. Not saying you're wrong. As that's why I preface it with as far as Ian Bell has told us. And they're using the Giants engine. So
for graphics.
For graphics, yeah. If they use that for physics, the software is going to be crap. Because if anybody has ever used the farming simulator, the physics on that is strange.
It's perfectly fine.
But in any case, they have said that they've done it from scratch. On the other hand, they have a cooperation with Reza. So who knows how much of the madness code they're going to use. Nobody knows other than those who are inside.
I'm going to say, though, if it's on madness, I haven't ever seen a good physics simulation being done on the madness code.
Automobilista 2.
I don't think it's particularly great.
Yeah, his point probably still stands.
It has good feedback.
Force feedback, yeah.
But it has lousy aero simulation, and the physics is hilariously hit and miss. It has the, like we were talking about earlier, the R Factor 2 problem. Some of the cars feel really, really good. Some of them are we've copied the handling off of this car and put it in this model because they're roughly the same wheelbase and structure, and you'll have to manage.
Okay, we'll have to agree to disagree.
Yeah, I mean, I like Automobilista for a fun thing, and I've done some streams on it. You know what? If I'm really like just I want to race whatever, I don't want to really prepare, I fire up Automobilista. However, it is the multiplayer and the netcode and like how the entire multiplayer system is working that keeps me off there, because it's just...
Or more precisely, it's not working, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. I think driving in it is fun. Don't get me wrong, like it got okayish graphics, it got good sounds, it got good force feedback. The driving, despite unrealistic, feels natural to an extent. Like you know exactly what the car is doing, and this is what it is all about. But the multiplayer.
Yeah.
It's one of the things that they're going to have to make sure that they nail this time, because we in 2014-16 we tolerated it in Project Cars. In Project Cars 2 we tolerated it. Nowadays there's much more of an expectation for being able to jump into a lobby with your friends, and again, Le Mans Ultimate couldn't deliver that, which is the entire reason why they've gone, we have no dedicated hosting, you just buy them from racecontrol.gg, which is not an ideal solution, but at least you can fire up a practice server and jump in with your mates on a track that you might be doing.
That was a strategic mishap by Reza. Renato Simeoni said from the beginning, oh, well, based on our data from Automobilista, people are not interested in multiplayer, so we are going to put that in the back burner, and at some point we're going to come to that. Where he went wrong, of course, is that, yeah, you're basing it in the past on data on a very, very niche sim that people are not really using for multiplayer. So of course most people are not going to use Automobilista for multiplayer. So he went wrong there, absolutely, and they've recognized that. But it seems that the Project Cars 2 code, which is no surprise, is not very good for multiplayer.
It was another game that fell foul of being told you must release the product at this time, and it wasn't finished. And because they were bug fixing and trying to code reactively, they weren't able to be proactive as far as getting the larger ecosystem fixed. And again, we can see how far behind they actually were when we can see how much development Razer has made and how long it's taken them to make that development. So, yeah, as I say, I stuck my line in the sand. I can't remember if it was last month or the month before, but I've said it's going to be some form of Madness Engine. And I have a feeling that they have found a way to underclock ISI, which is why it's a 1 kilohertz force feedback system. Not force feedback, physics system. I might have that number wrong. But it's not running at traditional ISI numbers, which I think they've worked out a way to underclock it, which will make it a lot more performant as well. Because I think that's one of the problems that we're having with LMU, is that they're still running at 3 kilohertz and most people's CPUs just can't hack it anymore. I don't like being right. None of you argue with me.
I mean,
it's just because I'm probably not able to feel a difference if it was 2 kilohertz.
And I think that's one of the things that have you played The Last Garage, Marcel Offman's sim?
I finished second in the championship on that particular stage. Yeah.
Yes, you did. Yeah. I thought that was. I thought you did. I have a bad memory if you hadn't figured that one out already. So, what are your opinions of that? Because that is, again, 1 kilohertz, and I totally agree with you. The difference between 1 and 2 and 3 kilohertz kind of don't matter.
I would probably rather blame the state of the sim that it was back in the day at when we were in Masters at Sim Formula. But I think back in the day when driving it so reminded me of the R Factor 2. This may have been down to that Ferrari F1 car from '75, which we had to kind of drive sideways anyway. But then I can't even remember the name of the competition car in the end. This kind of buggy. Yeah, like it was KTM, but was it an Ariel? I how was this car called?
It's on the tip of my tongue. BAC.
Oh, it was BAC Mono.
Exactly. That car also had to be driven some kind of sideways. I wasn't quite sure whether I'm just feeling the simulation just well enough already, or whether there's something missing to it. Because the car also was a bit dull. That force feedback hasn't been too great yet. But again, we were probably running even the pre-alpha version, if we're entirely honest. I think it was like Anglesey, the track, then the Bug Mono that was optimized for it, and then that other historic track with the F1 car. Other than that, the game was completely naked.
You were driving a study in multiplayer, because they had developed the multiplayer for the Sim Formula Europe to be used in a LAN environment. So it's pre alpha or something like that.
I have spoken to Marcel about this project back in August 2024. And at some point he was like, if I tell you more about it, you will not be able to do a competition. I was like, okay, shut up. But I remember back in the day when we talked about his product, he said, you cannot even go into the menu and map a button. You need to write yourself a controller ini file in order to map a button. I was like, I'm out of this. I'm not interested. Thank you so much. So obviously, and that is roughly the state of the game that we've experienced it in. Has it been a success for Marcel? I'm pretty sure he grew a couple of grey hairs every now and then, but overall, you got to say, apart from that one or other car flying on an incident, the game has worked particularly nice and particularly well in that overall environment. However, am I really in the position to say 1 kilohertz or 3 kilohertz can't feel a difference? I don't know. Probably what you would have to do is like get get Le Mans Ultimate to do in a 1 kilohertz version for CPU, for low CPUs.
I would love to see that, to be fair.
I would love to see that too, because it is extremely hardware dependent, and also I'm not running a too bad of a machine, but whenever there is a race with 62 cars around Spa or Le Mans, my PC starts struggling big time.
Yeah. It doesn't even matter if you can see the cars or not. Like, you turn invisible cars down does nothing to help with that.
No, because the problem
it's
is
the CPU,
that
I think.
Yeah, exactly.
The worst thing that you can do to your computer is go a race against 62 AIs, and you're kind of done. I've used it in VR, and I had that CPU outclocking where the cars start teleporting back and forth. This is the clear indication that your CPU is unable to calculate the exact position and physics of the opponent cars, which is easier in multiplayer because not your CPU is calculating other positions. It's everyone's CPU computing their own position and giving it to the multiplayer network. But it doesn't still obviously your own CPU checks on the computed values that are coming in. Otherwise, the netcode would have been pretty bad. Yeah. So I don't know whether between 1K and 3K, I probably would say you could perhaps feel a difference. But between 2 and 3K, I don't know.
It's gonna be like in video. There is not much difference between 4K and 8K quality.
Oh, I thought we were going to do the frames per second argument and have a lot of angry.
You know what? I would have agreed and disagreed with him, because I was the same as my personal eye can make up to 30 or 40 frames until it becomes a fluent picture. So why the hell would I feel a difference between 60 and 144? But for whatever reason that I don't get is 144 picture just feels more fluid.
Yeah. And it helps you. It even helps you with racing. You see the things happening a little bit faster.
Every frame that you receive is another piece of information that you can use in the context of what you're doing. So the more frames you have, the better decisions you can make. I find that the difference between 120 and 300 FPS or hertz is probably for monitor refresh rate is not as noticeable as the jump from 30 to 60. Even though the numbers are the same, the actual impact is a lot less. That's not to say that more frames isn't more better. And again, more force feedback. Go on.
Let me put your question, and you can put your question again. On that note of FPS, would you say running from 144 Hz to then a 240 gives you a noticeably difference and a noticeably advantage?
No, yes, but not cognitively. A lot of our perception is done subconsciously. And so while you won't perceive the difference, your brain is still calculating that extra 100 frames. So you may not notice it, but I do think that there is a competitive advantage to it, even at those numbers. From what I have seen, even because I've seen up to 240 Hz, and it's slight, but you could imagine if, for example, you were doing a first-person shooter or something that requires those thousandth of a second pieces of information, that could be the difference between getting someone and not getting someone. For racing, however, it's not as important. Not by a long shot. I've driven in sims at 40 FPS, and it's not fun, but it's doable.
40 FPS is almost a postcard simulator.
No, it's not. Films still run at 24 FPS. So if you can go to the cinema and have a good experience, then you can't say that 40 FPS is postcard.
Cinema, what was that again?
And guys, it's slideshow. It's slideshow. It's not postcard. It's slideshow.
I
Come
was
on.
mimicking what Serta said. I didn't know what he meant. The biggest thing that you get with less frames per second is less up-to-date information. And the less information that you have, the less the slower decisions that you can make. That's the main difference when it comes to sim racing, especially, is like the shorts that you uploaded yesterday or this morning or something.
The one with the Mercedes.
Yeah, where the two just kind of split, and you're like, how did you know that gap was going to happen? That's the kind of situation where it makes a difference.
And I would probably still argue that a thousandth of a second earlier awareness would give a different decision.
As I say, I don't think that you necessarily notice it, but there is a competitive advantage to having that higher hertz on your monitor and more FPS.
There's a reason why real life drivers train on a reflex panel, so that their reflexes are as fast as possible, and they train every day on a panel that trains their reflexes, because of course that 1 millisecond can be winning or losing.
I have always wanted one of those. I've always wanted one of those. I absolutely love them.
I would be like a baby cat playing for the first time, but still.
When I was 17, I did one at the Ford M Sport stand in the paddock. It's not the paddock. It's the can't remember, whatever. I got told that I had the reflexes of a WRC driver. Apparently, I scored the same as one of the M Sport drivers.
Didn't Asetek have one at the last Sim Racing Expo last year?
I didn't get an opportunity to go to look.
No, well, we were very busy doing other things, but I think they had.
Yeah, they may well have. And again, it would have been a bad time for me to do it anyway, because I would need to sit down for about 15 minutes before I attempted it. That was a lot of walking, and I was not very happy.
Yeah, I remember these things. We used one at Formula E in London, And I think once I was with a personal trainer in the beginning of in the summer 24, and he had also one of these things, but they were not located like on a wall. They were like up on the soil, so you were like left, right, up and down. And they didn't flash at you directly because they could be sitting on the soil as like here, and then you flash here or they flash there or whatever. But yeah, I had to do an exercise with him as well, like 45 seconds, to hit as many bulbs as possible. And he at least based on the results here, these are like, are you doing something with reactions in your spare time? It's like, sort of, kind of, yeah. Because he certainly said it wasn't a mega OP result, but he was like, it is certainly an above average, yeah.
It was like my experience at Zolda when I went a little bit too far with the car and instinctively was able to regain control of the car, because it's something that we do every day on a racing sim. Like, whoa, the car is sliding in the wrong direction. Let's get it. It's something that you train in what is called the muscle memory.
Nah, like, yeah, this simply doesn't happen. Like, I'm on legal streets, I'm an extremely defensive driver. Like, none of the guys would actually think that I'm like a virtual racing driver, know how to drive a car quick.
Well, because it's terrifying. There's all of a sudden there's cars that come in the opposite direction of you. Like, no, I don't like that. When a car is coming in the opposite direction, it's the wrong kind of racing.
That's not actually the reason. The real reason, at least from my perspective, is like, I know I can drive, and I know that 99% of the others around me can't. And that is the thing. And like, I'm truly of the opinion that sim racing also does make you a better normal driver, especially when it comes up into dangerous situations. So I once had a wreck with my car. We were in a construction site area, so all 4 lanes were on what is usually a 2-lane plus an emergency lane on the German motorway. So I was on the left lane, in the middle only one of these mobile walls that are separating the traffic coming. And on the right hand side there was a lorry, like one with a 40-ton trailer in the back. And all of a sudden that guy came over, because right ahead of him one lorry just came in, and he literally had to jump out of his way in order to not have a wreck on his end. However, I saw him coming in, and I was probably close to his blind spot from the mirrors, but even more worse, I was ahead of the 3 axes of the trailer. So when I was looking to the right, I could see the number plate of the lorry itself, and then, like, you know, those metal frames that are going underneath the lorry so nothing can go under. This was my view when he started to come over. So I hit the brakes. I came to an emergency stop, and I kept steering to the left because he was coming over. And I just came to a halt, and then I was looking to the right. Trailer was coming. And it was the rear traffic lights of the trailer that hit my side mirror. Mirror fell off, dropped down, but my entire A-soilers and spoiler of the car were fine. No scratches whatsoever. He missed it by a fraction. And then I looked to the right, to the left. It was that much that I was away from that mobile wall. So I placed my car pitch perfectly as much as I could in order to avoid any damage on my car. And it's not because of training, it's just because instinctively I tried to maximize the space available on the left and tried to brake as hard and as in a straight line as possible as I could. And I'm generally of the opinion, not only, I mean, I hadn't to pay the bill anyway because it was a insurance company issue of the lorry side in the end, but I'm like, I'll save some money there, like some good money.
And maybe the one or the other broken bone.
This could have been worse. If I would have been hit by the trailer could have run over my car, pushed me into the oncoming traffic on the motorway. It's like this could have been nasty. And yeah, 100%. And that is also why I think, especially when there's ice on the road or whatever, sim racing, when you're a good sim racer, when you know how a car handles, it instinctively gives you an edge advantage in on the public road. Not that you're racing there, of course, but
Safety advantage.
and this is why it's important that we have good simulations and good physics. And I kind of guess I get around it for this episode, but I kind of have to slack iRacing. I can't
Please
not
do.
it.
Please, you're on the right show for it.
The updated tire model they got for the GTP out in March or whatever it was. I remember in the hypercar going on Stavelo exit at Spa, turned the wheel, rear was coming round. I was not even trying saving. I just kept the steering wheel straight, and the hypercar recovered itself in the style of Max Verstappen in Interlagos 90 degrees sideways when it was raining. And I was like, that's not supposed to do the car. The car's supposed to go crash into the wall if I lose the control on cold tires. And I was like so negatively impressed of it that I had to make it real. And I put it on the internet and I got billions and thousands of comments of keyboard warriors being like, oh, you're such a bad driver, and I'm like, oh, you're such a bad viewer. You literally don't understand what I'm trying to expose there.
That's a you've touched on several nerves for me personally as well.
I'll bet.
Cadillac wasn't it that they had first in iRacing?
Yeah, potentially. Or Cadillac and Acura, most likely.
Yeah, it was the LMDHs, that's for sure. So one of the real big asterisks you have to put on that is, if you drive a four-wheel drive car, that is actually how you recover. Not to 90 degrees, but like if you're getting oversteer, you treat it kind of like a front-wheel drive car, you apply full throttle and it kind of fixes itself. Those cars are rear-wheel drive, they're not four-wheel drive. So adds more fuel to your point, that that's not how they work. Like if it was a hypercar with the hybrid on the front,
which the Ferrari should have been, and
which it also wasn't. Oh yeah. No, yeah. Let's not get too far into this because I have a feeling we'll spend all afternoon here. There's one thing that the LMU has gotten a lot of praise for, and I think it's a disappointing thing that they have got praise for it, is that they've modelled the hypercars properly. And it's like, yes, but why hasn't everyone else? It's a really key part of how those cars work.
They don't have the data, maybe? Oh, although iRacing and Razer should have the data.
It's in public files. It's in the
when
POP
iRacing released that Ferrari, and I found out they've put the Mercedes AMG F1 hybrid on it, I lost my stuff. Like, I saw the performance picking up from 60 kph. I saw the battery draining from below 190. I knew it was not an LMDH, and I was like, how on earth? We're talking about iRacing being in the high premium, we're the best simulation in the world kind of category stuff. How on earth can you release such a product to your people? And even more so, the people then defending it. Like, this, I lost my mind so much.
Fallacy. It has to be good because I've spent $3,000 on it.
Kind of. It is that type of fanboys that I have my biggest issues with. Like, I'm usually a really tolerant guy. Someone else has a different opinion, fine, cool, let's have it. But the moment I absolutely cannot understand a single fraction of it, I get serious issues in my brain. Serious issues.
It's when they don't have a defense for it.
They come around and be like, oh, the Mo Ultimate is so expensive, all that DLC and it's not even a V10. And I'm like, when you get that DLC in iRacing, you pay 2.5 times the price for it, and when you stop your subscription, you can't ever use it again.
Yep.
Cody, what do you have to say to that as a new iRacer?
I'm being called out.
Right, I'm going to defend Cody because he's doing it for the NASCAR, which doesn't have hybrid, doesn't have four-wheel drive, doesn't have any of the things that we're talking about. NASCAR is what iRacing does best because it's dirty, great big engines, spec series, and ovals.
And not to mention, iRacing was built on NASCAR Racing 2003's engine. So, yeah.
I give iRacing one more bit. Rain. They are the only sim having nailed the rain in terms of driving lines, drying lines, water puddles, and most importantly, and this is the awesome stuff, that kind of radar thing. Like when it starts raining in some bits of the track, but in others it's still completely dry.
Yes, 100%.
It's so insane. This is insanely good.
Have you driven AMS2 with the rain update that they did? 1.6, I think it was Certa. Okay, because they did a much more basic, but I think similarly effective way of achieving the same thing, in that they just flipped the grip heat. So when you get to a certain level of rain, off the line becomes more grippy than on the line. And it's just a simple mathematical equation rather than doing anything as intense as iRacing did. But the effect is 80% there. To my feeling.
And according to the developers of Automobilista 2, also because they calculate also how much tire stuff is on the normal racing line, and which on rain becomes very, very slippery, while on the dry it helps you. So that's something that they also take into consideration.
Again, I've got to stand with Michi here. The amount of calculations that iRacing do put into their grip modeling on track is absolutely insane, and you can tell that it's done on the server side as opposed to on the client side, because trying to keep track of that much on a normal PC would bring us into the same issues that we're having with Le Mans Ultimate. But the way that they've gone about it is it's the way I would do it, to be fair, if I was being paid as much as, or if I was making as much money as iRacing was. Whereas the way that Razor's gone about it is the way that I would probably go about it if I wasn't making iRacing money. But again,
this is the thing. For the amount of money that they earn, and probably also the dev capacity that they, in brackets, should have,
yeah,
their speed and quality is subpar. The development speed and their development quality is subpar. It almost feels like they keep their business model and also the business model of all the setup shops going. It's like every quarter we break something else somewhere on the chassis or somewhere on the setups. That old setups not work. New setup shop be like, here's our pack for the upcoming season, and customers pay.
I can't disagree.
Which is fine. They are like from a business perspective POV, they are milking a cow, and they keep refilling that cow every 3 months. So,
but then again, oh, there's a moral objection I have there. Again, we're coming back to LMU again, but to draw the comparison, when they updated the tyres in the 0.5 update, most of the default setups got updated to go along with it as well. So you might not have the fastest setup, but you have a base setup that works. which again, it's another one of those underrated things that Studio 397 has done through the development of LMU. Like, they've made massive changes to the physics of the cars, and they have supported the community and the cars every step of the way. Yes, there's been variance in how good the setup is, but that's different to not support.
You say to Michi.
No. He's right.
Well, you've worked with Coach Dave Academy on their setups, haven't you, for LMU?
I have worked on both of their setups, yes. I've worked on the safe setups that are being put into the game for free, and I've worked on the esports setups. And I can tell you, at times it was like, what do you mean they've changed something on the physics? Like, here we go again. But in hindsight, and this is where Studio 397 has been really smart, they took, instead of dealing with their cars all on their own, and they do have good drivers also working for Studio 397, Devin Browner, Dennis Jordan, to mention two of them. They know how to drive, they know how to be quick, they know how to set up the cars, they understand a whole lot about physics and tires and everything, and they be able to be like putting a setup together that everyone can drive safely in a somewhat okay and faster drive within minutes, maybe an hour. But what they've done is like, they were like, hey, CDA, you guys have a core and key skill in your business to create setups. It's like, why not collaborate on this point? And this is what they've done great. And it's also insane that you get like the super safe standard default setup and like the CDA, somewhat more sophisticated, but maybe more tricky to drive. It's almost like advanced or like aggressive and safe preset on ACC. So they've done the right call, and arguably, yes, they've changed the physics that often that all the new setup shops. I mean, I'm running my own setup shop besides. We have to do all the updates ourselves as well, of course, but it is for sure now as V10 is out, there won't be overhaul of physics every other time. Maybe BOP adjustments. Maybe if they find more refinement for improving the tire, then there might be an update. But it's not going to be like in 3 years that we are seeing Le Mans Ultimate breaking the physics every 3 months so that your old setups won't work. That's not going to happen.
Playing to the audience that you have, I think is probably the best way of putting it. And again, we've had the conversation several times of people being unhappy buying DLC in a beta state, but I mean, we also know the financial state of MSG. Like, that has been very, very well publicized. So I can't be too angry at them if it means that it keeps the lights on and a very, very good sim on the market.
Yeah, which is why we had the discussion in the public, like, how on earth can they sell 4 DLCs or 5 DLCs before publishing the finished game? It was due to that fact because they needed any other pens to keep that project running until Pimax came in. Which, to an extent, you may not like, but you can emphasize and actually be like, yeah, as a customer, this is my way of support them in order to get them over the finish line.
Exactly. And I think now that we're there, they do have a complete product. Last thing, when they came out with the ELMS news, I was over the moon. Your opinions?
Absolutely amazing. The ELMS was, I mean, it was up in the air. I didn't expect it to come that early. It's great to see it. I'm looking forward to get rid of that baby LMP2 and like have the old 100% powered LMP2 back. I am looking forward to Silverstone as a racetrack because also for me as a coach, Silverstone has everything. Single corners where you just approach, turn around like Stowe. You have corner combinations. You have corner combinations where there's a single way like Maggots, Backets, and Chapel to nail them the fastest. And then you have corner combinations like woodcut and last corner in the old, like turn 6 and turn 7 in the new layout. How is it called? Not after Welling. Yeah. After Wellington Straight. There's multiple ways to go through those two kind of hairpins that gets you an equally fast lap time or lets you set up a move. So this is highly interesting. Then I do love Barcelona as a racetrack. It's one of my absolute favorites. I'm not that excited for Paul Ricard. It's going to be interesting whether they bring all the 19 configurable track layouts or whether
I really hope
they do as well, but I doubt it.
Any sim has brought all of them. I think there's a licensing thing for each one, because otherwise it's like, you know, everything's there and it's just you got to do like AI lines and change around some barriers. I think it's probably like, you know, it's probably just gets expensive to do is my guess.
Uncle Bernie needs money, so he's gonna make you pay for every variation. He didn't make enough billions being the boss of Formula One.
With the addition of like Le Mans Ultimate 1.0, the thing that I'm most excited for is career mode, of course. And they've made like very big promises. I'm really like I've waxed poetic about how I like careers and immersion and that sort of stuff in my sims. I won't go too hard into that. What I will say though is I am weirdly excited for the LMP3 category because dentist simulator. I'm excited to barely be faster than the GT3s.
Low power, high aero cars are the best way to go racing. If you want to, yeah, absolutely. Certa, are you going to invest in the ELMS pack when it comes out?
I have the whatchamacallit, the seasons pass, so
Pass that has expired.
it has expired already. Okay, I suppose I'm gonna go for the next season pass where that is gonna be part. I'm very much a season pass guy, so that I don't have to bother. Also because professionally, we have to drive everything, and therefore that's where most of the money from our Patreons goes. Like paying for the sims and the DLCs and whatnot, so that we can have an informed opinion about those.
At least you have your Patreons for that. I need to spend the 75 euros for the F1 title every other year myself, just to find.
I don't go for the F1 title.
We don't cover arcade games here.
Fine, it's like no one needs to play update 17 from F1 2010, right?
But hey ho, we'll have to call it there. We have been going for 2 hours. This has been
Question
most
of the
fun.
month.
Thank you very much.
Question of the month.
Thank you yes, absolutely. Thank you very much, Michi, for joining us. Question of the month. Does anyone have a candidate?
What are you most looking forward to seeing from Sim Gaming Expo coverage?
Me, GSI, just because they're pretty.
You've seen them.
I know, and I want to see them again. You don't get tired of looking at pretty things.
I don't know that they're bringing anything new, so I will be meeting with them. We'll be talking with them. We will be going over their product stack, and hopefully more as well. But yeah, I mean, okay, all right, GSI. You know, I love GSI too, and especially, you know, shop local, right? So I love GSI. As my cube controls wheels stare back at me and go, "What about us?" Yeah. So I want to know what you guys are looking forward to from Sim Gaming Expo. Let me know down in the comments. I will be looking, and that might have a bearing on what we're covering. So do get your opinions down in there. I want to know what you want to see.
You don't know what's coming at the Sim Gaming Expo in Chicago. We'll pin it on Certa to put a link in the description to go to the page and see what's going to be there.
Michi, do you have any preference?
I think I would be interested to see what the American market got ready over there already and when it's coming over to Europe. Because as you've mentioned before, sim racing market in general is very European based, with SimuCube, SimLab, Huizingfeld, all of them being like sitting in the center of Europe. And to me, GSI was pretty much the exception of that, like really having a solid amount of products being sold while sitting and producing in the US, but having it shipped mainly to Europe. Arguably, they have 2 or 3 people like Den Suzuki sitting in the center of Europe, helping with the organization and business maintaining. But I remember when the shifter broke down on that FPE V1, it took them 3 or 4 days with express airmail to ship spare parts for this. And I would have to say, like, I had the Akira GP back there from Spain, where customer service wasn't really a thing, right? So I was mighty impressed to see that happening, and also the industrial scale that Gomez is producing in. It's like you see it's proper built, you see it's proper designed, and they are manufacturing with a considerably high speed. So I'm looking forward for more manufacturers, because I think the US itself would contain a lot of sim racing gear or like simulation gear manufacturers with the same quality, the same pricing, and the same ideology like you would find it in Central of Europe. So I would be interested to see what might come over there.
Turtle Beach is American.
But they're not going to be at the Sim Gaming Expo.
No. I was just thinking, like, industry-wise, I was like, what other American sim companies are? And yeah, that's the only other one I can think of. So
I had to Google
100%.
Turtle Beach as you mentioned it before. Like, what is he even on about? I've never heard about it. Probably why, you know? I think there's many hidden companies and many hidden suppliers which would actually deliver quite nice gadgets. Like, coming back on Cooler Master real quick on their rig, they've been powered by Sigma motion control actuators, and those are sitting in the US. And I was generally stunned when I found out that one of their actuators could carry 250 kilograms all alone. So there is high quality stuff on the market on the other side of the sea. So I'm really interested to see how much they go together with Europe. Although, looking at tariffs right now, we're going to stay European, I guess.
Interesting time. All right, Ike, wrap her up.
Thank you very much for watching, as always. Thank you very much to our patrons. We've discussed you over the course of the podcast. For your support and ideas, and our members on the YouTube channel for our support. If you're a patron or a member of at least the Formula 4 driver or bronze level, you'll be able to help us record this podcast, warts and all, and be able to ask questions in the chat, even more of a reason to become a patron. Thank you very much once again for Michi for joining us, and as usual, thank you very much for listening to this extended podcast.
What do you mean extended? We normally blabber around for 2 hours. That's nothing special for us anymore.
Yes, but we don't record. We don't record for all of those 2 hours most of the time, Serta.
I am the one cutting and publishing the videos. Oh yes, we do.
Okay, that's fair enough. Either way, thank you very much, gents, for taking part once again. Until next time, save fuel, collect pickup, and we'll see each on the podium. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.